The Canucks fall 4-2 in Vegas. There is lots to talk about both on and off the ice, and we're doing that now on Rink Wide Vancouver. And we welcome you inside the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studios. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. Rinkwide brought to you in part by Bet365. Check out Bet365's 3-goal early payout. When your team goes up 3, you get paid. It is that simple. Download the app today. Must be 19 plus to play. Please play responsibly. 4-2 Vegas over the Vancouver Canucks. Golden Knights make a winner out of Torts in his debut behind their bench. And, of course, for Evander Kane, it was a grand occasion. Game number 1,000 in the National Hockey League, the 420th skater to ever suit up in 1,000 games. There were 4 goaltenders as well, so 424th player to reach the milestone. And Evander into it early, opened the scoring, but alas, second period's caught up to the Canucks yet again, and that was their downfall in this one. Nice to have you back here in studio.
Hello.
It's nice to have a co-host tonight.
Yes.
I had to fly solo on Saturday, but it's a two-man show here, and I'm glad to have you because, as I said off the top, there is a lot to get to, not just with this hockey game. There's a lot going on around this hockey club right now.
Yeah, the off the ice stuff, there's a lot more of that going on than the stuff on the ice. We know exactly where they are in the standings. Great for Evander Kane, like you just mentioned. Only 420 other skaters in the National Hockey League have reached that 1,000 game milestone. Scores in the game. 5 shots in the game. You knew it was going to be an Evander Kane game. Alas, the Canucks don't win the hockey game, and that's kind of been their story. You know, even when you go up, the second period stink. And beyond that, you know, you have 5-minute lapses, 6-minute lapses where this team just loses all thought of playing proper hockey, and that's where other teams take over. Good teams will do that. Great teams will absolutely bury you. Look at what happened in Colorado against Calgary, if you're wondering about that. Oh, yeah, the Canucks are in Colorado on Wednesday. But, again, another game where you and I do a show, and the best players from the Vegas Golden Knights were pretty much non-existent. It was the other guys that beat them again.
Yeah, some of the Vegas guys had chances, but ultimately when you look at the score sheet, it was a lot like that Los Angeles game at the end of the homestand where Panarin and Kopitar did their thing, but it was deeper in the lineup. And again, maybe it stands to reason just because the Canucks do not have the depth to match up with pretty much everybody in the National Hockey League. Effort wasn't the issue here tonight. They were fine. They had the lead, as we said. In fact, they had 2 leads at 1-0 and 2-1, but they could never extend those leads, and goal scoring's been an issue for them. But again, I don't have a problem with the effort level here, but I just think so much of this season and the things that have gone on and gone wrong for the Vancouver Canucks on display, whether it was depth scoring, whether it was second periods, again, haunting the Canucks. They got goaltending. I thought Kevin Lankinen was fine. I'm a little worried that the Canucks will think that too and run them every game the rest of the way, but they do have the back-to-backs coming up here, so you would think those would be a split. Let's get this out of the way early. This is 6 straight losses now. Like, they mount in a hurry. That win over the Florida Panthers feels like a lifetime ago, and so it is 6 straight losses in regulation time for the Canucks. Their 44th outright loss of the season. They are 21, 44, and 8. They remain on 50 points, and the road record, well, it's been a disaster here in 2026. 1 win in 13 on the road now, 13, 19, and 3 away from home overall. And what this loss does is reduces the Canucks' tragic number now to 1. A single loss for the Canucks, a victory of any kind for the Chicago Blackhawks, and the best lottery odds will be locked up. And so this could happen for the Canucks as early as Tuesday night, Winnipeg in Chicago. And if the Blackhawks are able to beat the Jets, that is it. The Vancouver Canucks will no longer be able to catch anybody in the race for last spot in best draft lottery odds. So that's where we are in terms of the stakes. It's 1 is the tragic number now for the Vancouver Canucks. So it could happen tomorrow night when they don't play. Could very well happen on Wednesday night in Denver against the top team in the National Hockey League. Look out. We'll talk more about the Avs as we go here. But let's spend a little bit of time on the game, and then we will get to some of the other circumstances around this hockey club. A report from Nick Kyprios earlier in the day that certainly was a juicy one there. And then, of course, the Canucks have now spoken and broken their silence on the events along Press Row on Thursday night at Rogers Arena. So we'll get to that as well. Really pretty goal to open the scoring. Like, if you're going to score in your 1,000th game, may as well make it a pretty one. Look, Jake DeBrusk has not had a great season, has not been a playmaker, but a 2-on-1 as the Canucks break up ice. Evander Kane goes to the net. Jake DeBrusk gets him there. And with Rasmus Andersson back, pass across the slot, Kane to the backhand, tucks it in, 13th goal of the season. And again, I know that he's not everybody's favorite player. I understand that. But relative to what's going on around him, 13 goals on this team, like, it's not a terrible total.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly in the second half of the season, he's been a little more productive than he was in the early going. So good on him. Again, he may not be your favorite player, but 1,000 games in the National Hockey League is a hell of an accomplishment. And so he should be saluted for it. They had the T-shirts before the game, featured throughout the broadcast. And I just think a pretty cool moment for anybody to score in their 1,000th game in the National Hockey League and to give the Canucks the 1-0 lead in what was a decent first period. I thought of their 3 periods, I thought the Canucks probably at their best in the first, but we've seen that way too often this season as well, where they hang with an opponent for 20 minutes. Problem is, it's a 60-minute game.
Yeah, and I think the Evander got a lap as well. They made him go skate up for a lap by himself in warm-up. So, yeah, I mean, good for him. That probably must have felt good. I think some of his family was in attendance for that game as well. But like you said, a great way to start. It must feel good for him to be able to get that goal. And Jake DeBrusk, another assist, 18 on the year now for him, I believe. Not known as a playmaker, but it's got to feel good for him to at least, contribute to the scoring one way or another if you're Jake DeBrusk. Where in this season it hasn't been good considering what he's done last season for this hockey club. But as you mentioned, that first period, they were good. Like, they were a team that hung around. They were a team that dictated play a little bit in that period, but like 60-minute hockey games, if you only take their first and thirds over the course of the last couple weeks, it's like, man, this hockey team's pretty good. Unfortunately, the second periods have been from hell and worse.
Second periods have been a disaster. So it got me thinking in one of the intermissions, I was like, we know that they just give up goals in bunches in second periods, and here again tonight got outscored 3-1 in the second period. Happened the other night in Calgary, happened against Los Angeles. Well, it has happened in 19 straight second periods. So every game since the Olympic break, plus a handful before, the last time the Canucks did not give up a goal in a second period was the night they blanked the Anaheim Ducks 2-0, January 29th, I believe it was. So essentially 2 full months. Now, there wasn't a lot of hockey in February with the Olympic break, but it's been a long time since the Canucks have held their opponent off the score sheet, the long change, whatever the reason. They get spooked in second periods, and they did again here tonight. This game turned in the second, where the Canucks had a 2-1 lead on the power play goal by Brock Besser, but Shea Theodore and Riley Smith, 1 minute and 17 seconds apart, and that's been part of the problem as well. It's not just goals that happen in the second. Teams stack goals on the Canucks so often as well, and they just can't prevent the bleeding or stem the bleeding, and that's the way it went here. It was a 3-2 game to the late stages, and then an empty netter seals it. 4-2 is the final. The Canucks get outshot 33-24. Again, I thought a decent night for Kevin Lankinen. You probably run him out in Denver. Really, it's pick your poison. It's Colorado on Wednesday,
one of the
Minnesota on Thursday, but my hunch is a decent performance from Lankinen. He'll keep the net for... let's see how many goaltenders they need against the Avs.
Yeah.
And if they need both, it certainly won't be the first time that the Colorado Avalanche have chased a goaltender. They did it tonight against Calgary, and it may not have mattered if the Flames had both of their guys in there at the same time. It was just one of those nights for the Colorado Avalanche, who threatened to go double digits on the Flames, but came up one shy in a 9-2 victory. So when I look at this one for the Vancouver Canucks, defensive breakdowns, second period, yes, but they've happened in other periods as well. But here tonight, the Rasmus Andersson goal that ties it at 1, Drew O'Connor's had a nice season, but just a lapse of judgment, and that's all it takes at the NHL level. He lets Andersson sneak in from the back door, and not a whole lot that Lankinen could do there. The Shea Theodore goal off the rush, Victor Mancini still not exactly sure where he was or what he was doing, but he gets trapped, and DPD, the lone man, back. Barbashev wins that battle along the sideboards, and Shea Theodore read the play, jumps up into the rush, snaps one home on the stick side of Lankinen. That tied the game at 2, and then, as we said, a minute and 17 seconds later, a real carnival. Like, this was, if we were putting together a sizzle reel of bad defensive coverage, I think this one would feature pretty prominently. There were a ton of breakdowns. The Golden Knights dumped the puck in. Marcus Pettersson, who is the left side defenseman, winds up on the right side boards. So his partner, Tom Verlander, is sort of left to wonder what's going on. He's drifting. And again, a guy able to sneak in on the backside. Evander Kane, it was his big night, but he didn't have a great moment there. And Riley Smith, wide open. And Riley Smith's been scoring goals in the National Hockey League. Done 2 tours of duty now with Vegas. His 13th turns out to be the game winner. And again, it was just breakdown after breakdown, miscue after miscue. And it just sort of felt inevitable that puck was going to wind up in the net.
Hear me out for a second. Mm-hmm. When John Tortorella coached the Canucks and other teams, I don't know if he does it anymore, in video sessions, he used to have player number and what you did wrong. Player number and what you did wrong. And you would hope to go into these meetings and hope that there was a description. There's sometimes players would go into the meetings, you would have your player number and question mark, as in what the hell were you thinking? And there was a lot of that tonight from the Vancouver Canucks, especially on that 3-2 goal. You mentioned Evander Kane, obviously. Marcus Pettersson isn't playing well, and defensive breakdowns. That's kind of been the story of this season a little bit as well, where you play so well, it's the lapses in judgment, and unfortunately, it's a product of being a very young team as well. The veterans that they have out there are the ones that are making the mistakes, but the young guys can't learn if the veterans aren't the ones that are picking up the slack, and the young guys are kind of falling into this trap of also making bad habits as well.
It was a tough go for Mancini and DPD as a pairing. They didn't play much in the third period in a 3-2 hockey game. We'll get under the hood here as we roll along. Want to hear from you, though. Would love your thoughts on everything or anything that's going on around the Vancouver Canucks right now. And again, there are a lot of topics to cover, and we'll do our best to cover all the ground here on Rink Wide. But bring with a super chat. Our charity partner, the BC Mental Health Foundation, will benefit, changing the face of mental health and addiction by supporting breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange. Super chat will get you to the top of the queue. All right, let's get to the 3 stars. 3 stars in the building. Clean sweep for the Golden Knights, which surprises me a little in essentially a 1-goal hockey game, but home cooking there in Torts' debut. Riley Smith, Shea Theodore, Rasmus Andersson. So Smith and a couple of defensemen are named the stars there. The stars on Rink Wide, a little bit different. Now, the 3 stars are brought to you by Greta Bar YVR. It was a wild weekend of sports, March Madness, men's national soccer team, hockey all over the place. At the pro level, college level as well. Baseball season opening weekend, lots happening there. And Greta had it all on the big screen. So many big screens at Greta. It's a terrific place to take in all of the action. So we tell you that every show. Check it out. They got the street food menu. They got the weekly drink specials as well. And then, of course, if there's a lull in the action on the televisions, you got all the arcade games. You can throw it old school and get it, plug quarters in, but you get your swipe card and you do your thing. Greta Bar, the place to be, 50 West Cordova, Greta Bar. Let the games begin. All right, 3 stars here on Rink Wide. 2 nights and there he is, Mr. 1000. Riley Smith, not just the game winner, but he had 5 shots on goal. He was around the puck. He was making things happen. There's Shea Theodore, the Alder Grove native. He ends up with the tying goal. He had a couple of shots, played a bunch, and plays in all situations for the Golden Knights as well. 22 minutes and 35 seconds of ice time. And it is going to be interesting. Anytime a new coach comes in, he's got to learn the players, got to get the trust, got to be that two-way street. And so it'll be curious to see how John Tortorella goes about doling out ice time. But I would imagine that he will lean on those veteran defensemen. And that seems to be the strength of the Golden Knights. Goaltending's been an issue all season long. They have basically run the wheels off Aiden Hill. This was his 11th start in 12 games. But you got Shea Theodore, you got Rasmus Andersson, you got Noah Hannafin, no Alex Pietrangelo, and that's a massive
That's what's hurt them the
blow.
most.
And I mean, just a guy that plays a ton, and they lean on him. He's not there, though, and so they went out, they got Rasmus Andersson. They think that they have bulked up, and Torts have got to figure out how best to deploy this group that had lost 3 straight and had just 1 win in 7. So the Golden Knights needed this one, and they get it, and now they get the Calgary Flames coming off the embarrassment in Denver, so we'll see how Calgary responds, but what a soft launch for John Tortorella, essentially the 2 worst teams in the National Hockey League. You watch, he'll go 2-0, and then people will... They made the right call. Look at Torts has turned this team back in the right direction. Just keep in mind who they have played in those first couple of games.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about it is obviously the timing, right? It's the 8 games now and then playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever they do in the playoffs, obviously it's an added bonus for Vegas as an organization. But the guy, I mean, you mentioned it before when we were watching the game. He won a Stanley Cup 22 years ago.
22 years ago.
And somehow, I mean, I like John Tortorella. I've always thought that, he's obviously a good coach and can get the most out of his players. Maybe his methods are a little bit different, but that's the guy that they think that can do it. I know that Jack Eichel and Noah Hannafin had great experiences with him with Team USA, and he was, as an assistant coach, I bet you probably a little bit better as an assistant coach than you might have been as a head coach at that tournament. But for whatever reason, he's the guy. Interesting to see. Rick Bowness as well. Guy that wasn't really doing too much gets a call.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see what the Vegas Golden Knights do. I don't see them going far in the playoffs. Maybe get through the first round, but beyond that, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. I mean, you just looking at that roster, and especially defensively.
With their win, they pull within a single point of Edmonton. Now the Oilers have a game in hand, but these two will go head to head in Edmonton on Saturday. So a massive game there that could very well determine home ice in a 2-3 matchup. Anaheim got a single point, lost the fight, lost the hockey game to the Toronto Maple Leafs, 5-4 the Leafs in overtime. So every point matters, and Anaheim unable to come up with 2 against a Toronto team that did not have, you may have heard, Austin Matthews isn't in their lineup. All right, so we got the 3 stars there. And again, Evander Kane, we talked about him. The official line on Evander Kane in his 1,000th game, 14 minutes and 42 seconds of ice time, had 5 shots on 6 attempts, had a hit as well, took exception to a hit late in the hockey game, but cooler heads prevailed there, although the Canucks and, well, let's get to this, because it is the stat that stands out here tonight. And we always try to draw something from every game, something that numerically jumps out at us. Teddy Bluger dukes it out with Colton Sissons in the second period. The Canucks have now had fights in 3 straight games for the first time all season. Of course, Steve Bouillon at the end of the game against Los Angeles, and then Curtis Douglas in the giant gladiator battle with Adam Klapka. And here you have Teddy Bluger, the former Golden Knight, slugging it out with Colton Sissons. More of a wrestling match. There were a few punches thrown. But I do find this kind of funny that it was the kids, the video, Fight Club, and now all of a sudden, at this late stage, like, where was this fight from the Vancouver Canucks earlier in the season? This is way too little and way too late, but it is, as the screen tells you there, the first time all season that they have had fights in 3 straight games.
Yeah, I mean, look, with nothing to play for, emotions kind of get the most of you. Curtis Douglas finally gets his out of the way, like you mentioned, in that Twin Tower monster fight. Steve Bouillon, obviously, that was just a lot of frustration in that hockey game. And him and Willander was also in the mix as well, getting angry there. And the Bluger one from this hockey game was interesting because initially he wasn't even involved in the skirmish that was going on.
Linus Karlsson, there were a few
and
others in there.
Him and Colton Sissons just got pulled out to the side, and Bluger's like, all right, I guess got to hold on here.
Here we go. We've got a super chat from Free Petey, a regular contributor, and we thank you for supporting the BC Mental Health Foundation. Says, Willander frustration showing again. Time for a new coach, or we'll lose the young core ready to break through. System is awful. Yeah, the system has been a dumpster fire all season long, and I think tongue-in-cheek says the young core that's ready to break through, a reference to the letter that went out to the season ticket members a week ago at this time. But yeah, I mean, we've seen this, and obviously frustration on the part of Steve Bouillon at the end of the Kings game, Tom Willander punching the bench the way that he did in that game as well. losing sucks. You've probably heard a few of these guys say this. Don't make me mention the record again. There's been a lot of losing. This is the 52nd loss of the season in just 73 games. So, there's enough schedule, enough runway left here. If this could end up being a 60-loss season, it's hard to look at the schedule and think, where's the win or wins remaining for the Vancouver Canucks?
Yeah.
And again, if they play like they did here tonight, they might get an opponent and find a way to squeeze out a victory. But
you look at their opponents; everyone's battling for spots, and with how tight the standings have been, especially in the Pacific. I mean, those games are going to matter to those teams.
And so, yeah, I mean, just playing the kids, and we've heard that a lot. Play the kids, and Evander Kane gets to 1,000, and people will say sit him down. Well, he's going to play on Saturday for sure because they're going to have a pregame ceremony for this 1,000th game, and he scored tonight. Like, I don't see him coming out of the lineup on Wednesday against Colorado, and quite frankly, I'm not sure that he is going to sit out a game, which is kind of wild when you think that Jake DeBrusk is going to be the only veteran guy that had to pay the ultimate price of, being singled out and sat down for a game. We'll see how things go here, but I don't know. I'm sort of prepared that Evander is going to continue to have a spot in the lineup, and that will mean probably that rotation of Höglander and Sasson and Curtis Douglas, and maybe Atu Ratu comes out, although as a center, more likely he stays in there. So, yeah, we'll see where things go. But I don't see Evander sitting down just because he got to the 1,000-game mark. But on defense, fine, play the kids. But when you pair DPD and Victor Mancini, they're not developing. They're just wearing the uniform and they're getting lapped. And again, on a night like tonight, boy, you look at the underlying numbers. Shot attempts with Mancini on the ice at 5-on-5, 16-1 for the Vegas Golden Knights. DPD, it was 14-1. The shots, actual shots on goal, 10-1 when those two guys were out there. And as I said, they didn't play much in the third period, both on the ice for 2 of the 3 Vegas goals at 5-on-5. So it was a tough go. And now, if you want to play the kids, you're going into Colorado. You're going into Minnesota. I don't think that P.O. Joseph's going to sit out both of those games. I would think that there will be some juggling of the lineup on the back end here. But, again, people are, it's a good experience for them. They got to learn on the job. I'm not sure that they're developing when all they're doing is spinning their wheels in their own zone shift after shift after shift.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is you look at their next 2 matchups, Colorado, Minnesota. I mean, the Colorado Avalanche are as balanced as any team in the National Hockey League. And you look at the Minnesota Wild, their top 2 lines are good. And then you've got like the Foligno brothers playing together, big, heavy, physical guys that can get in on the forecheck and just ruin people. And these are the guys that you're going up against on third and fourth lines as well. So for Biam, for Mancini, for DPD, for those young guys to get this experience like you're talking about, sure, it's great to go and play in NHL games, but you're not learning anything when you're getting caved in every single night. So do you have to change the pairings? I'm not entirely sure that Adam Foote's going to want to do that and try and balance things up and do things that way. And then it goes by, okay, you only have 1 extra defenseman. That's P.O. Joseph. Like, who's the guy that gets to come out? You're probably not taking out anybody that's not Victor Mancini. Like, he's probably the only guy that's coming out of that lineup.
Yeah,
I mean, DPD deserves to be in every game just based on his physical presence alone. Like, I ain't afraid of anybody, and he should be playing every single night.
Yeah, and he was at his physical best last year in Colorado. He got his first NHL fight. Hey, got to keep this string of fights going now on Wednesday.
Just all about fight night,
no,
Fight Club.
I'm not, but it is just kind of funny that it's come this late in the season. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I did think that Mancini had maybe his best game of the season. Yeah, I know it was a blowout loss in Calgary the other night, but he was paired with P.O. Joseph, and those two actually made some things happen. He had the assist on the Höglander goal. So whoever the 18 skaters are on Wednesday, say a prayer for them. They're going up against a Colorado team that can and will embarrass you if you're not sharp. And it happened to Calgary tonight. And we'll see how this goes for the Vancouver Canucks on Wednesday. It's a 5:30 start, by the way, so a slightly earlier than usual start time for us here on Rink Wide as well. Let's give Brock his flowers. Now officially the team leader in goals with 18. Nifty deflection. On the power play, Canucks only had the one power play, and they made the most of it. Hronek with the shot. EP40 gets the second assist there. But Brock with the tip. He thought he had scored the other night in Calgary. Goal ended up going off Jake DeBrusk. So it was Jake's goal. Brock sat on 17 until tonight, but has now finally, somebody has pushed past Kiefer Sherwood. So Kiefer Sherwood will not win the Canucks goal-scoring derby this season. He held the lead for a long time, but Brock up to 18 now. And, just another indication of the hand-eye that we've seen throughout his career. And with 18 and 9 games to go, 20 seems like an etch. We've talked about that before. So, we'll watch that and see ultimately where Brock Boeser tops out. It's going to be a low total to lead the team in goals this year. I get it, but somebody is, or maybe it'll be a tie. But got to think there are a few more goals left in Brock Boeser's stick here before the season is done.
Yeah, I mean, the way that he's playing right now, we know the streakiness of the way that he scores goals, and he's doing it on the power play too. They're getting looks, which is good on the power play, and he's usually right spot, right time for the most part. I think it's going to be a feather in his cap. Hopefully, if he can get to 25 at some point, I'm not entirely sure if he's going to get to that number, but at least 20, I think that should be a very attainable goal for Brock Boeser. But beyond that, just the way that he's looking, he's been playing better recently, and he's not. You notice him in games, whether it's shooting the puck, whether it's being in on the play or on the forecheck or things like that. You're noticing him a little bit more. In these stages of the games, I know people are going to be like, well, where was this the rest of the year? I agree with you, but at least there's something.
Going to hear from Evander Kane on his 1,000th game occasion. Here, we'll do that momentarily. First, though, this segment of Rink Wide is presented by Pacific Toyota dealers and the Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid. No compromise approach to electric vehicles that offers the best of both worlds. Drive up to 72 kilometers on battery alone. That's enough to get you from downtown to the rink to the grocery store and then home to recharge. It seamlessly transitions from electric mode to the gas engine for a combined range of 962 kilometers. No sacrifices here when it comes to horsepower or style. It's got the sleek, low, wide exterior and a sophisticated interior, and it's loaded with tech that's actually easy to use. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer during Red Tag days from March through May. This is the final game of March, and if you've been with us all season, you know the final game of every month means we're going to haul out the vibe meter. Irf has been hard at work over there, getting ready to deliver his verdict on the month of March. Before we do that, though, let's hear from Evander Kane after this 4-2 loss in Vegas.
I know it wasn't the final outcome you guys wanted, but what did you think of the fight from your team tonight?
Yeah, I liked a lot about our game. They're a team that's fighting for points, and I think we gave them everything they could handle tonight. I think it was good from a physical standpoint, guys getting in there, sticking up for each other. I thought for the most part we did a good job. We had a little lull in the second period, which probably cost us the game, but I liked our pushback in the third.
A goal from yourself on a big milestone night, of course, as well. What was it like just to kind of celebrate this with the team, seeing their shirts this morning and walking in?
Yeah, it was nice to have the support of all the guys. They were excited for me, which made it special, and obviously getting the first goal of the game, was a little cherry on top. So it was nice to be able to have a nice moment in that milestone game, and again, just a special moment.
You got about halfway through this road trip now, 2 games left. What's kind of the key to finding some success in the final 2?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're going into a back-to-back against 2 the best teams in the league, and we're going to have a lot of the same effort we had for the majority of the game to give ourselves a chance to win.
Just mentioned the intensity. It seems you're going to come out with a spark given their new coach. So how did you feel that you guys matched their spark as you initially started?
I thought we were good. I thought we had a good first period. I thought guys battled. Second period, I thought we battled too. We, like I said, we had a bit of a lull where they made a push, but I thought we showed some character and coming out in the third and fighting back and trying to get that tying goal.
Lots of memories of this building, over your course of your career. It seems like, everywhere, this has been your stop. So, how did it feel to get 1,000 and your goal in this arena that you kind of have played a lot in?
Yeah, over the last probably 7-8 years, I've played a lot of hockey in this building on the visiting side and a lot of playoff series. And, it's always fun coming here and competing.
All right, there you go. Evander Kane, again, congratulations to him. 1,000 games, the 9th player to do it in a Vancouver uniform. They had the list up on the broadcast. Tyler Myers was the last. Twins, Marcus Naslund, Trevor Linden, Ryan Walter, Dave Babich, and Pitt Martin going way back. Hope I didn't miss anybody there. So, yeah, and again, I mean, he sort of echoed what we said. The effort was fine tonight, played hard. And again, you knew that Vegas was going to come out and try to show John Tortorella that these guys were going to back up the organization's decision to make the coaching change and get this thing moving in the right direction. I didn't think they were great in the first period. Torts didn't hit the ice with them in the morning skate, so he was busy working his way, figuring out T-Mobile Arena, I suppose, and the coach's office and all those types of things. But anyhow, Vegas, good second period. And I'm sure Torts liked the third, where his team had a 1-goal lead and was pushed a little bit. Liam Ogren had a chance down the left wing with about 5 minutes to go. Got a pretty good look and a shot away, but Aiden Hill up to the challenge there. Jack Eichel had that breakaway early in the third period that could have extended the Vegas lead. Wasn't able to do it. The Canucks pulled the goalie with 2 minutes left, and then it was Cole Smith. After Riley Smith had scored to make it 3-2, it was Cole Smith who ends up sealing the deal into an empty net. Somehow, the stat sheet has Cole Smith with 7 hits. Like, honestly, the first time I heard his name was on the empty netter, so a little surprised at that. And Ivan Barbashev also with 7 hits in this hockey game. Wow. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, they audit those, so we'll see if those numbers stand at the end of the night. Outside of the fight, I didn't think it was a terribly physical game. Atu Ratu got the elbow into the face of Nick Dowd, who was in a bad way there, but he did return. I think he gets an assist on the empty netter. Tough go for Dowd. I don't know if you saw what happened to him with Alexei Protas early in the game the other night, but they basically collided helmet to helmet, and Protas is now out for a little while. Dowd wasn't injured. He stayed in that hockey game, and then early here tonight he left and came back. So good to see. You don't want to see guys injured at this time of the year. You want all these teams to be healthy as they gear up for the playoff run. According to the box score, totals of hits 33 for Vegas, 25 for the Vancouver Canucks. Now, we talked about Brock Besser and his goal, and it came on the power play. It's kind of funny. Like a few games ago, Marco Rossi was all the talk here in town and was on the point streak. He has been really quiet in my mind, really the last 3 games. You go back to the shutout loss to Los Angeles. Didn't notice him much on Saturday in Calgary, and this, I would say, was the 3rd straight game where there's not a whole lot happening for the Canucks second-line center.
Yeah, it's tough. Look, I think that run that he went on and got to feel good about his game was great for him. It's consistency, and that's what you want to see. And you want to see him. He doesn't have to score, but he has got to be at least a little bit noticeable. There's been games where you and I look at each other as like, have we heard his name yet here on the broadcast? And this was unfortunately another one from Marco Rossi. But like I said, these games for them now down this stretch run, they're going to play against some really good teams here. So you hope that they're going to get a little bit more output. I mean, Elias Pettersson had 4 shots, I think, in this hockey game. Didn't really notice him too much either. So you're going to need something from your top 2 centers. And if these are going to be your top 2 guys, you're going to have to notice one or at least both of them every single night.
Yeah, Forty gets the second assist, but again, way better on Saturday in Calgary than he was in this hockey game. All right, we heard from Evander Kane. Let's hear from Adam Foote. We'll get the coach's perspective on a 4-2 loss to the Vegas Golden Knights.
Adam, I know it wasn't the final result you wanted, but what did you think of the fight from your team?
Well, just they were fighting. They were, literally they were battling. We knew they were going to come out hard, and they were finishing their checks and trying to play that hard game, and they did throughout the 60 minutes, and we matched it. We competed. Guys didn't back down, that's for sure.
I know we talked a little bit about this morning, but just how important and special it was to be a part of Kane's celebration, and then, of course, he gets that first goal tonight. What was it like?
Yeah, it was nice for him to get that goal early. He had some jump there. It was a nice play by Jake to get it over to him. Special moment for Kaner and his family. That's a milestone that's tough to get, and it's nice to see him get that and get a goal tonight as well.
They activated their D a few times. It's got a couple of their goals tonight on.
Well, they're rolling around it. I mean, there's a little mishap on the back door on the one. our low forward didn't get up fast enough, but our D didn't see that happen behind them. So that happens. The hardest thing for a young D is to watch what's coming from behind you when it changes sides on east-west, and they're good at that, and we'll learn from that. But there was a lot of good things. I thought Z was moving the puck. He was skating with the puck well and making plays, and what I like is to compete. We know with the coaching change they had, they were going to come out hard, and our guys didn't back down. It was nice to see.
Teachable moments, obviously, but the effort level is something you're proud of.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's some moments in the neutral zone, like a couple penalties we took moving forward, not on body position. That's just something they'll learn moving forward. You got to get the body, and against a team like that, you can't give them those. So, but it was a good, hard-fought game.
Adam Foote, for the most part, likes the effort. That again, momentary lapses, and we talked about that the other night in Calgary. It was guys that weren't clear on the front of the net. Tonight, it was backdoor plays where opponents were left wide open, and add it all up, it's yet another loss, 6 straight now in regulation for this Vancouver Hockey Club. All right, super chat coming from Susie, and we thank you for your support of the BC Mental Health Foundation. Question for us, Irf, and it says, favorite Canucks coach of all time.
Wow.
I'm going to go with AV, and it's amazing what winning does for an organization. And he had a ton of success, more success than anybody that has held that position for the Vancouver Canucks. We've left
Sorry.
Yeah. He just, he had a way about him. Pretty good sense of humor. Had the lozenge after almost every game as well. I think back, like Mark Crawford was the head coach when I broke in, and so learned a lot about the job and the game from him out on the road every day, dealing with Travis Green. I mean, there's lots of guys. It's hard to pick a favorite, but again, I think my favorite sort of era of covering the Vancouver Canucks was being there day in, day out when they got within a game of winning the Stanley Cup, and that was with AV behind the bench. So I would say Alain Vigneault.
Yeah, I'd probably have to agree. I also first started covering the Canucks, and AV was the coach right at the end of that, and then went into some dark times with Willie and Torts, and I had a good relationship with Travis when he was the head coach here, but it's between probably AV and Travis. AV on the side of, he was a veteran coach, had been there and been with this team and saw them come up and obviously almost get to the goal that they wanted to. And then beyond that, we obviously haven't seen anything that much since Alain Vigneault, and had that bubble year for Travis, which probably doesn't count. And then Rick Tocchet, I didn't get to deal with him too much, but he was probably obviously a pretty funny guy to deal with, especially when it came to post-game stuff and either protecting his players, calling out his players. You always knew that there was something interesting that you might get out of his mouth. But for me, I would have to agree with you. It's probably AV.
Thanks, Susie. Appreciate that. Keep them coming with the super chats. We'll try and work in as many as we can. Now, as we shift from this game to things that are happening around this hockey club, Nick Kyprios this afternoon reporting that in Vancouver, there are strong suggestions that change is coming, but to what extent remains unclear. Until there's a better understanding of Jim Rutherford's full commitment to a rebuild, things remain fluid. Either way, I hear, this is Kyprios, I hear GM Patrick Allvin doesn't expect to survive past this season. Now, if you missed it, if you were so locked on and focused on the Vancouver Canucks tonight, Toronto Maple Leafs fired their GM an hour and a half before they were playing down in Anaheim.
Yeah.
So Brad Treliving is out, and now the Leafs are in the market for a general manager. The Nashville Predators have had a half-season search for their next GM, and so we're starting to see teams sort of position themselves here to get a running start to the offseason, and you just wonder what exactly to make of Nick Kyprios' reporting. I don't doubt it for a second, but if Patrick Allvin doesn't expect to survive past this season, then you can add the Vancouver Canucks to the list of teams that will be looking for their next general manager.
Yeah, and I think that Jim Rutherford knows that this is a full rebuild. I think the ownership knows that this is a full rebuild as well. Whether his commitment to that remains to be seen still. I think that they know that what it's going to take. I think that they know it's not going to be good here for the next 4 or 5 years probably by the time they really can go and turn around and be competitive. As for the future of Patrick Allvin, I think Kipper added that he's hearing that, maybe Allvin's telling people that he won't be back or whatever. And, that's just talk. I mean, maybe he's joking with his friends and things like that, but stuff gets around and you hear things. And these are when your team is as bad as they are. Absolutely every single person's job is going to be questioned, whether that's the president of hockey operations, whether that's the general manager, whether that's an assistant general manager, whether that's a pro scout, head coach, assistant coach, and trickling all the way down to the players, PR, everything. Everything is going to be looked at with an insanely deep microscope. So
as it should when you are 32nd and sinking daily in the standings. So I think we all agree that heads are going to roll. It's just a question of how many and how high up the food chain ultimately. And you do wonder, for all this talk and even before the events of the last couple of days around the organization, people have been demanding to hear from ownership. Again, if the Canucks were to clean house entirely, and I mean move off Jim Rutherford and Patrick Allvin, you would think that would force the owner to come forward and speak. I wonder if you keep Jim Rutherford around as sort of that buffer that, he can continue to be the mouthpiece and he would be the guy, and you lean into his hockey experience to find the next general manager for the Vancouver Canucks.
But Jeff, in order for him to be a mouthpiece, he's got to speak. When's the last time Jim Rutherford has spoken to the assembled media?
Right.
Not on a podcast
and
or not anything else.
This blends in perfectly then to the other big story that's been making the rounds here, obviously, since Thursday night when Trevor Beggs of the Daily Hive was escorted out of Rogers Arena during the game against the Los Angeles Kings. Today we heard from the hockey club. If you missed this, I will read the statement that the hockey club provided to the Globe and Mail, which is really interesting in and of itself because, as we know, the Canucks seem to cater more to the out-of-market media than they do to the people that are on the ground, that cover this team, that devote their lives to being at the games, to being at the rink, to spending countless hours on programs like this one and others, on the radio, on television. And so the statement was emailed to the Globe and Mail. We see that Canucks personnel appear regularly on a podcast that is based back east as well. You do not see Canucks personnel and players on local podcasts. And so there is very much a distinction to be made here in the way that they choose to go about their business. The statement in response to the issue with the Daily Hive emailed to the Globe and Mail Monday afternoon from the Canucks PR department. And it read, the team said in the article that the article contains statements that are inaccurate, misleading, and cause reputational and commercial harm. The strategic use of language and framing of the article are sensational and take flippant liberties, particularly with the inclusion of the Vancouver Canucks in the headline and in the photograph. It is unquestionably defamatory to accuse an individual by implication or insinuation of committing a criminal act. We view this matter as a marked departure from journalistic principles of fairness, honesty, objectivity, and integrity, and we remain committed to supporting accurate and responsible coverage. And then it went on to say that Trevor Beggs' credentials have been revoked and will not be reinstated. There was no negotiation or a condition to have the article retracted in order to keep the credentials. So they weren't in the mood for talking. They were all about action. And I guess for me, it's disappointing that they chose the nuclear option here. I think there could have been diplomacy shown on the part of the Canucks. Clearly, they were upset with the way that the story was framed and presented. I understand that. I do think that the Daily Hive made some choices that it has to live with as well. But, I wish we lived in a world where we could all get along, but clearly that is not the case. And it does feel, for whatever reason, like the Vancouver Canucks are only happy when they are picking fights. And I have felt the wrath of the organization at times. I know you have as well. We're not alone in all of this. And so it's a difficult situation. I think we all just want to cover good hockey, and we're not getting that opportunity. And it sort of feels like their frustrations are being taken out in different avenues.
Yeah, I think the Daily Hive part of it they've obviously made choices and putting the story out and things like that, and the way that it was written and things like that, and everything that went with that whole situation. As far as, kicking a reporter out during a game, I think that could have been handled a lot better. You have to just, from a perspective of just looking at where you are in the season, you're terrible. You're in dead last. We cover these games right now because we're covering the games. The games don't matter in anything. If the Canucks are in the middle of a playoff battle and every game was, this, that, and the other, and people were on the edge of their seats, yes, it still would have been a story. I don't think it would have been as big, but this is the focal point now because of where you are in the season and the way you do it. And I think the way that they treated people over the course of, whether it's this year, last year, the year before that, I think it's rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. I don't think it was necessary for it to happen during the game. I think that could have easily happened after the game or a phone call the next day, but that's kind of the way that they decided to go about things. And absolutely, that's, they own the building and whatever, and they want to control, what they want to control. But for me, I just think that was one of the things that probably got handled the poorest of it all. It just could have been done better. It could have been done just it was a lot easier than having to do it in an intermission. But I don't know. It's like I said, when things are as bad as they are, and you hit it on it before, every single thing needs to be looked at with a microscope, and every department should definitely have some sort of overhaul or a definite, really just look at it and say, are these the right people involved?
Yeah, and as so many others have pointed out, that this has now become the story, is the hockey club's response and reaction and treatment of a reporter. The story is no longer what the reporter wrote and the fact the hockey club didn't like it. It's that they've gone to these lengths. Now the statement that comes out, that's going to be the focus of most of the talk shows in town tomorrow. This story is not going away, and this one feels different to me because we know the Canucks have had issues with editorial comments and things that have been written about them in the past, but most of those have blown over. They're dead last. They've lost 6 in a row. They're headed for a 60-loss season.
And there's no guarantee they win first overall.
But this feels like it's going to have legs until the next home game on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that game is going to start or be preceded by a ceremony for Evander Kane. You would think somebody at some level of the organization would be on the ice to represent the hockey club. Are they going to send out somebody as a shield? Will it be somebody from management? If so, how's that going to go over? This is an angry fan base. And I just wonder what it's going to look and feel like over these final 3 home games as people have an opportunity to vent and voice their frustrations more than they have to this stage of the season. So I don't know. We'll see how it all plays out, but pretty good chance that they're going to come off this road trip on an 8-game losing streak and hope that people, fill the barn and come to see them play the first of their final 3 home games on Saturday against Utah.
Filling the barn hasn't been a problem. People are going to go because there's nothing else to do in the city. And that is just the reality of the situation. The Vancouver is, by all accounts, a one sports town, and the Whitecaps played well and things like that, but it's the Canucks. It always has been, and it always will be the Vancouver Canucks in this city. So people are going to go to the games. But to your point on, someone from management's down there presenting Evander with the jerseys, who are 2 guys that played 1,000 games that are currently with the organization that no one will ever boo? Daniel and Henrik Sedin. I would be shocked if they're not on the ice presenting Evander with whatever it is as members of the team, guys that have been there and played those 1,000 games. I think that, and usually it's the family anyways, and it's 3 or 4 teammates. You might have someone from management, or if it's a GM, usually
somebody from the team. I think quite often there's somebody from the league.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that that's always the case, but there will be a ceremony for Evander Kane, and I hope that people are respectful. They should be. Again, 1,000 games is an incredible accomplishment, but just sort of in this atmosphere and this environment and this climate right now, it almost feels like it's going to be a bit of a side show. So I hope it's not, but we'll see how all that goes down. But again, whether it's the losing, whether it is the future of just about everybody in the organization, certainly in management, whether it's this story of them picking fights now with the media, or if it feels like it's time for a month-end vibe check.
Oh, the month-end vibe checks are low, just like my pulse watching these games. Yeah, the month-end vibe check is very, 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 very low. It is, in fact, so low, it is the same as it was last month because they were just as bad the month prior. Can't get any worse. So give it to me, Jake, sorry. Vibes are still at 0. I don't think they've hovered anywhere near the orange, the yellow, God forbid any of the shades of green. It has been ugly maroon red, just like those seats for all those years here at Rogers Arena in Vancouver. And look, I kind of do this jokingly a little bit, but really, what have we talked about this month that we've been excited about? There have been 2 home ice wins. They're about to lose maybe their 7th and 8th straight hockey games. The first periods are okay. Second periods have been an absolute disaster for this team. You're starting to see now, play the young guys, play the young guys, play the young guys. And when you do, maybe you shouldn't play the young guys. Let's play Nikita Tolopilo. We sat here and talked about it and said, play Nikita Tolopilo. I don't know if you can play Nikita Tolopilo.
They did for 24 minutes.
Well, there you go, right? And I just think it's unfair. And look, I'm adding everything into this. This is just not on the ice. This is also off the ice. This is also vibes within the players. This is also things that I'm hearing from whether it's guys that have been in the room or coaches that have coached against the Canucks or people that have come into contact or things like that with people or around this organization. It's just not good. And again, like I said, May 5th, that is the day that is probably one of, if not the most important days in franchise history after Game 7 Cup Final in 2011. Like you would have to agree like that. It's the chance to change your franchise with number 1, 2, or 3 overall. And the decisions that are going to have to be made after that, like you don't just win the first overall draft pick and be like, okay, everything's going to change. There is so much other heavy lifting that has to be done. That's the easiest part. 1, 2, or 3, just pick the player. The hardest part is who is going to be tasked with the job, if it still is Patrick Allvin, to assemble a team that is going to surround this player. Who is going to be tasked with the job if it's not Adam Foote to coach this team? And who are the other players that you're going to bring in, if you do get a Gavin McKenna, to insulate this young man to try and grow and help him grow as a youngster in the National Hockey League? So the heavy lifting is really, really heavy. And this is going to be one of the biggest summers of the history of this franchise because it sets you up for the next 10 or 15 years. You have guys like Zeev Buium. You have guys like, Braden Coots, who's obviously doing his thing right now in the WHL. In the WHL, and then you have other young players, Willander, and obviously DPD. Are your veteran guys the right guys? Is Elias Pettersson the right number 1 center? Is Brock Besser the right winger? Like, are these the right people you want in your organization? Is Philip Hronek going to be the captain of this team? These are all questions they're going to have to take. The Canucks organization is going to have to take into consideration. So yeah, we can all get really excited about if the Canucks draft number 1 overall, and hopefully they do get it because this city needs it. The organization needs it. Everyone needs it. Teams win Stanley Cups when, you have the number 1 or 2 overall pick. But my goodness, the heavy lifting after that is probably, if not more important than just making that pick on draft day.
Oh, I'm just thinking about the vibe meter on May the 5th. If the lottery balls fall their way, how high could the vibe meter actually get? You'll have to tune in and we'll find out.
Well, if they get 1, then you at least know it's going to 1.
Well, I certainly hope it would show a little bit of signs of life.
It's going to idle somewhere.
I hope they show some signs of life here over the remaining 9 games. We're going to talk about what they're up against next, and it is the top team in the National Hockey League. But before we do that, we got to take care of the business of the line of the night, brought to you by Bet365.
Well, the one today was very easy. It was the Evander shot chart. It was the shot ladder, and it was an Evander anytime point or goal in this hockey game. So that one was pretty easy. You knew that he was going to go off in his 1,000th game. But for tomorrow night, I like the Buffalo Sabres at home against the New York Islanders. My God, did you see what happened to the New York Islanders in this hockey game?
Yeah, where did they go?
Up 3-1.
Midway through the second period.
Got an 8 spot on them. It was brutal by the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Ottawa Senators have been in Florida for quite some time. Not sure if that's a good or a bad thing, but I'm taking them over the Florida Panthers right now. Hopefully Linus Ullmark can play a hockey game that would make the coach and their teammates pretty happy. The Detroit Red Wings on the road in Pittsburgh, they got a lot of goals against the New York Islanders. I don't know if they have that many in them against the Detroit Red Wings. So you take those three together, some pretty decent odds on a little 3-game parlay. Every sports fan will tell you that not all games are created equal. Sometimes the excitement just isn't there. Sometimes you get a dud. Lots of duds. Watching this team, it happens. But at Bet365, boring games are a thing of past. Now, always a reason to tune in, even if the score isn't one of them. And while they can't make every game exciting, they can help fans get excited about every game. Bet365, download the app today. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. Also, there's one more thing I wanted to get to. Saw that it was reported that the Canucks and Bium, or the Canucks at least looking to extend Ziv Bium, and it's going to be probably around 8 a year. That's probably what they'd be comfortable with, 64. Bium wants 9. And I think that number is going to have to start with a 9. Whether it's a long-term deal or whatever it is, I think that number is going to start with a 9.
That frightens me. I understand the market, and there are other young defensemen that are getting those sorts of numbers, but they've also put up a few more numbers than Ziv Bium, who, again, just 20 years of age, shows potential, but yikes, giving that kind of dough to a guy that really hasn't proven himself yet, and we know the last max contract didn't work out so well. For the Vancouver Canucks, of course, this is a strange summer where they have the opportunity to go 8. They won't have that again. And with a rising cap, you wonder if the player is going to want to lock into a maximum term deal as well, or do you go a little shorter and as the cap goes up and set yourself up, bet on yourself and come out ahead down the road. So we'll see. Can't do anything with Ziv Bium until July the 1st, but we'll see where that one goes. Again, I like a lot of what I see from Ziv Bium, but I would like to see a bottom line, and there isn't much of one, but hey, there isn't much of one for anybody on the Vancouver Canucks. Where there is a bottom line is in Denver, Colorado. And the Avs just lower the boom on just about everybody. Picked up their 49th win of the year tonight, 9-2 at home against the Calgary Flames. Colorado 24-7-5 on home ice. They are both the highest scoring team and the best defensive team in the National Hockey League. Like, they do it all, and they do it all well. Nate the Great scored his 49th, so you know what that means.
50 burger coming your way.
Setting himself up. He had 1 tonight. He had 1 of the 9. So he's got 49 goals, 71 assists, 120 points, 318 shots, leads the National Hockey League. And there's a derby to the finish line now with Kucherov, McDavid, and McKinnon separated by 4 points. So we'll see who ultimately is the winner at the end, takes home the Art Ross. But, of course, it's not just McKinnon. Marty Necas up to 35 goals now. Brock Nelson, 33. They've got 3 guys with 33 or more, and Brock Besser leads the Canucks with 18. The rich is an excess of riches there in Colorado. Now, the Canucks may not see Cale Makar, who took a hit from Adam Klapka in the second period. Didn't look too serious, but he left the hockey game. And if there's any danger, like, why would you play him on Wednesday against the Canucks?
There's absolutely no need.
So my hunch is that you're not going to see. It's just a question of, is he going to miss more time than that? But again, one of the great players in the National Hockey League. You want to see him healthy and ready come playoff time. So we'll hope that it's nothing too serious for Cale Makar. The Avs at one point this season were 31-2-7. They have cooled a little bit, but when I say a little bit, they're 18-12-3 in their last 33 games. They have won 5 of 6, so they're picking it up again here, and they have beaten the Canucks twice. Although both of them have been relatively close games, 5-4 in overtime, 3-1. Both games in Vancouver, so this will be the one and only trip into Denver at altitude, the first of back-to-backs, and on to Minnesota for a game against Quinn Hughes in the Wild on Thursday. We said it earlier, we'll repeat the game on Wednesday, a 5:30 Pacific time start. So we'll be on when they are done, and we'll see what this one looks like and how it goes for the Vancouver Canucks. They're going to be in tough against this Avs team.
Yeah, you mentioned the rich get richer. They also get a motivated Nazem Kadri, who if he was going to be traded, the only team he wanted to go to is the team he won a cup with. And this team definitely has cup aspirations. We also talked about, you mentioned them cooling off, and I was like, are they going to cool off like the Lightning did that year when the Torts Blue Jackets swept them? I don't think so. They just put up an 8 spot against Calgary Flames. They ain't cooling off.
No, I mean, Dallas had crept within 6 points of them, but this win pushes that again. I think Dallas and Colorado play one more time here down the stretch. Interestingly, the first 3 meetings between the Stars and the Avs have all gone to shootouts. So they have not decided a game in the run of play yet. Now, if they meet in the playoffs, no shootouts. So they will have to figure out a way to end their hockey games. But it's, battle of superpowers, and their head-to-head matchups have been razor thin. So maybe they look past the Canucks. Is that possible to the game against Dallas on Friday? Probably not. Again, we'll see what happens here. I believe the Canucks have a practice slated for Colorado on Tuesday, because then you're into back-to-back situations. So by the time they get to mini, that's going to be 3-4, 4-6, all out on the road. And yeah, the road has not been kind to the Vancouver Canucks, mind you. Neither has home ice. 4-2 the final. And again, the Canucks were game in Vegas, but just not good enough to get the job done. So they fall 4-2 to the Golden Knights in John Tortorella's coaching debut on to Colorado. And that's when we'll do our next episode of Rink Wide. And who knows what we'll be talking about by then. Again, storylines abound on and off the ice with this hockey club. Jake Fraser behind the scenes, helping out here, producing the program, and we thank him for his contributions. Irv, good to get you back in here.
Good to be here. I'm here.
The calendar changes as we work our way here towards the end of March. So April Fool's Day on Wednesday.
Someone's making a joke on that date.
Yeah,
we'll have a few of them.
Exactly. And they may be mathematically eliminated. Well, they've been eliminated from the playoffs, but they may have top draft lottery odds locked up by the time that we do our next episode. In fact, they probably will. So, all right, we'll see what happens. The Canucks in Colorado on Wednesday. We'll talk to you then. Thanks so much for checking out this episode of Rink Wide Vancouver.